Как настрой, как подготовка? Меня, наверное, не слышно, да, переводчика? Gabriela, good morning. Қайырлы таң, құрметті әріптестер. Доброе утро, уважаемые коллеги. Благодарю за то, что подключились. Вас сегодня около 150 участников. Напомню, что это второй день нашего семинара, который мы проводим на тему «Роль искусственного интеллекта в высшем образовании». Семинар проводится в рамках миссии технической помощи программы Erasmus+. Сегодня наши эксперты охватят, следующие темы. Это искусственный интеллект в науке, в публикациях, трансформация системы оценивания с учетом искусственного интеллекта и успешные кейсы применения искусственного интеллекта в высшем образовании. К концу семинара мы попросим вас, наших участников, разработать либо выработать ряд рекомендаций для министерства и для вузов о том, как применять искусственный интеллект в высшем образовании. Поэтому будьте готовы к такой задаче. Материалы первого дня семинара уже доступны у нас в Google диске, в Google папке. Материалы сегодняшнего дня мы разместим после семинара. Ведется запись семинара, как обычно, разместим запись семинара на нашем канале в YouTube. Запись первого дня семинара уже доступна на нашем канале. Благодарю всех, кто пишет, какие вузы они представляют. Я вижу очень много участников с региональных вузов, это очень хорошо. Большое спасибо. Good morning, dear participants. Welcome to the second day of our seminar, which is being held as part of the technical assistance mission of the Erasmus Plus program. Let me remind you that today our speakers will cover the following topics. These are the co-creation with AI, AI in research, publications and science, transforming the assessment system in view of artificial intelligence, and successful cases of using AI in higher education. At the end of the seminar, we'll ask you to develop a set of recommendations for the ministry and for the higher education institutions on how to use the AI in higher education. There are some minor changes in the program, in the agenda, but this will not affect the overall duration of the program, so we'll finish at 1:30 p.m. today. The presentations from the first day of the seminar are already available in our Google Drive folder. And the recording of the first day of the seminar is also available on our YouTube channel. And this session is being recorded as well, and we'll upload it on YouTube as well. So without further delay, I'd like to give the floor to Diana Andone, who will deliver the first presentation for today. Diana, are you here?
Yes, good morning to everybody. Nice to see you all, and I hope you had a good weekend and you are preparing to wrap up the 2025 year. I will kindly ask you all to stay on mute until you really want to speak, because it's not that easy to handle it if not. Can you raise your hand virtually or figuratively, as you wish? If you've been on the first webinar. Okay, so I see only 2 hands until now up. Okay, so more are coming. This is the exercise to wake you up, to get your attention. To see, have you been there or not? Good. Very good. So quite a few of you have been there. So this is very good. Yep, somebody has started the whiteboard. So can you, I don't know who has started, but it needs to close up because I can't switch it off for the host.
Коллега, кто запустил экран whiteboard, пожалуйста, отмените.
It is still sharing. Can you please? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Let me. I will change this in the host tools as I'm co-host. I apologize for the participants, but I've just, you don't have the rights to share the whiteboard anymore. So let me do a small recap of some ideas. In fact, there are new ideas which you might see now, but I just wanted to share them with you to see how this is happening and how you see it. Let's do this. Okay. So I hope you are seeing it correctly. Let me just move this from there. And find myself. Okay, so I can spotlight for everyone. So you can basically see me. That's very, very good. So I will just go over a very brief recap over the things which we have done. Just to remind you again that we have the Menti, the same Menti which we had on the first day. So this is the code and this is the Menti. And now you will have only one question. This question is to describe AI in one word. And I will keep this up until I will go over the recap. So you can answer on this one, and then we'll come back to this. So I will kindly ask you to go back to this Menti. You will have in chat the link. I'm sorry if I speak too fast. This is for the translator only. So I will explain again the welding metaphor. So I strongly believe that artificial intelligence can be something which can be useful for the humanity and can be useful for education and for research, but only if we have a set of rules that are respected, we have a lot of guidance and training, and we create a lot of examples of what we can do with that. So this is why I think it's very, very important for us to figure out how we can do that together. And the only way to do this together is by co-creation. I strongly believe that only if we collaborate between us, especially in the education sector. And why? Because we don't have that many funds available. We don't have the power of the multinational companies to be able to do this. And we really cannot have all the abilities of reinventing how artificial intelligence can be done and can happen. So this is why we need to follow and to understand and to create a set of regulations and guidelines, then to adopt those into the real life and to create a basis for the support also for the students, for the professors, and for the researchers, to get inspired by use cases and to recreate other use cases. And then obviously to learn, constantly learn how to do this. And just then go to teach either with AI or about AI, and then do research as much as possible with AI. Today, we are going to speak a bit about assessment, about how we use generative AI in research and in science. And also at the end, we will give you some more information about some use cases and also where you can learn and find information about that. So some basic ideas how to teach with AI, also in teaching and learning. This is something comprehensive of what we have done in the first day. So all the time you need to find your questions. You need to get the questions which are the most important ones for you, which are where in their learning can students develop an appreciation of the reliability, possibilities, and limitations of generative AI outputs. What this means is that you need to be able to get examples, learning opportunities for students where they can really understand how to use generative AI. I'm stopping so the translation can catch up with me. And to be able to do this, you will need to create opportunities to critique generative AI. To be able to understand how disinformation, hallucination, and biased information happen in AI, used in different fields. Then you need to learn them how to create prompts, what we call prompting engineering, and how to have different examples of AI tools. Motivate them to find new AI tools for where they can always identify how to do it by themselves or not. But be aware that any AI tool which the students use and you are not aware of it, you will not be able to give them support. Support is quite important. So it's quite a difficult job for the educators to do, so they can really give support to the students on every bit. Then to be able to locate, to understand how to locate any references, how to validate the information which is coming there if they are not an expert in the field, if they don't know something about the aspect. At the end, assess and reflect. All the time when you have a learning situation or a teaching situation where you use AI with students or encourage students to use AI, or you know that the students use AI, at the end, create the opportunity to publicly in class with all of them a participation, not only a simple survey, to assess and to reflect on what it was done, to have that peer assessment between them where all of them are discussing about different situations. Another situation is there where they can find out about a new topic, something which they don't know about, which is new to them, and to research about an idea. And then obviously to find the appropriate tool which will be able to scope for a topic, research online and find information about that, and then to create your summaries, to identify and to translate, to learn about the translation part of it, and with specific vocabulary, or then to create a glossary of terms, especially, for example, in languages which are not so much available for AI, like Kazakh language or Russian or whatever. And then locate the references again, identify the sources and validate that the information is correct and where AI can not do it. Assess and reflect again also at the end of this. The other question or situation where you can ask the students to do something in learning is where they can find consolidation of their learning, to assess the understanding, to become their study buddy, to become their partner in education. And then obviously some ideas is to structure their study notes effectively into a variety of formats and to be able to create either tables or to create any examples out of that, out of the course which you have, or the notes which the students give, or the PowerPoints which you give to the students. Then to generate practice questions like the study buddy and to assess those questions. And then another possibility is based on that, to develop, and the output is to develop their research and data analysis skills. And there are different tools, and I will show you today at least 2 of them, and also Gabriela will show you some. The other one is how to improve their academic writing. Another use case which is possible is obviously for the AI to generate different examples of academic writing, of presentations, of different things and forms based on notifications and so on. And that's where it's so important to exist. And then to have different forms of argumentative, descriptive, expository, or narrative writing, which is important to understand how this is happening, to see examples which are good or bad, then to have feedback from them, from different generative AI, not to stitch to only one generative AI tool. And then generate different explanations on different contexts, give more examples and suggest analogies, find synonyms of different words, find different ways of expressing the same thing. Like I give a lot of examples with my students, which are computer scientists, to improve their writing is to write something which will be written as a as a FIQ, as a questions for a client, or as a help book for a client, or as an informative thing for the company, so to colleagues which are from computer science and experience in computer science, or to write the same text to describe the application of the tool for the general public, to make it as a press release, and to see the different types of discourses and how this writing is affecting that. This is something which is very new in teaching engineering, is the way how we communicate about our information. And it's the things which we are doing. And it's very important, I think, in any field, for doctors, for historians, for anybody else, not only for the engineers. Okay, so basically this is the main idea. I would like you to go back and then to see something about the words support. Can you help me with the word in the middle, the 2 words in the middle, please?
Помощник means assistant, помощь, assistance.
Okay, so the same thing, assistance, support. That I'm really happy that, because why I'm doing this is the end of the first day. And if we will compare it with the first one, you will be able to say that it was more about innovative and more about cheating and plagiarism. And now, after we have been doing this together, it's very important that you realize that it can be a lot of support and help and assistance, because these are quite the words which are there. Obviously, you understand that is a problematic, that it's also an opportunity, which is very important, but you still need to have in view the possible biases and the possible errors which are happening if we are not using it correctly. So I'm very happy with this thing that you already show a bit of more belief in how you can do it, and you understand how important it is to have support and continuous think of doing it. So I will move now to the next presentation. If there are any questions, I will be happy to answer them now. I can't really figure it out. So Laura, if you can help me, please.
We have one raised hand, so let me ask the participant. Алмагуль, у вас вопрос, да? У вас рука поднята. Можете задать свой вопрос. Коллеги, есть вопросы к спикеру, к Диане? No, we don't have any questions at this point, Diana.
Okay, so we'll move then ahead, and I will go to the research one. Just give me 1 second to be sure that I'm also in the Menti in the right place. Okay. This is when you have too many screens sharing. Okay. Here, hopefully, I will be able to show to you also some examples. So I hope you are seeing it correctly. This will show you some of the ideas for research and science and how you can use research and AI in all the fields. And again, with the exception of this image, all of the others have been created by myself. You have again a new question in Menti, which is already open as far as I see it. So how did you use AI in research, if you use it until now or not? So I will kindly ask you to start answering to this question if you can. Please let me know about your ideas about AI, and then we will be able to comment on those and see how we can learn both of us from doing it. So just to be sure that you can answer in this question, I want to see at least one answer. I know that you might think that why you need this in Menti, but it's quite important. Okay, so we have one. Good, and we'll come back to this one just soon. So I want to say something about my experience more or less here. So I will start directly with my experience, and then I will show you some other examples from the literature. Is how I see this framework for using generative AI in research and where it can be used. In my opinion, we can use generative AI across any research stage. I need to say again what I mentioned in the first day also, that it's very important to understand that anything, any information which you give to an LLM, it's automatically going to be used and stored by them. So you are giving up. So if it is very important and breaking news information, don't give it to them. But I strongly believe that you can use generative AI at the beginning on research conception and also in the execution stage, where this is important, especially for literature review. So if you really want, and I will show you if we can, about one or two tools where you can see how quickly you can get information from different tools and from different areas with generative AI. Then is also for research infrastructure. If you don't have access to, I don't know, tools or data or even some equipment, you can use generative AI to simulate that. There are different tools to be able to simulate how different data is looking like or how different information. Again, be aware of this. Important things are that there are a lot of new tools which are based on collective use or which are generated by universities or big research centers and which are given to everybody to be used. So it's a bit more safe to use them in research than, I don't know, ChatGPT, for example. Then, as I said, use generative AI for data collection and generation. Statista, which is the worldwide, and I will show it to you, which is the Statista, which is the worldwide statistic and data generator and data gathering unit around the world, is having a research AI tool, which is very helpful and very good. Then use generative AI for ideation and hypothesis generation. I sometimes, when I have new ideas and want to use it, I'm asking also some other tools, and you will see like Elicit and so on, to give me ideas and to give feedback. Why? Because they're looking at what other papers have been used. So it's a lot of literature review which is happening there also, and it's giving me hints if it is good or bad. And where you can do this, especially at dissemination stage, translation, And obviously, when you need to be very much aware about the agreement on funding and research funding. So this is hugely the note of caution which we have here, because there are a lot of financials, even European Union projects like Horizon Europe, which don't allow you to use generative AI in some of the research stages, and will ask you not to use it, especially with this view that the information which you give there is already becoming somehow something of the public use of them, right? And it's not anymore protected. And it's quite important on this dissemination stage. So when we already have more or less the paper written or the report written, to be able to have it in summaries, in short text, text for social media, text for the public. Here, I think generative AI can really help you. It will cut out the work of, I don't know, a day or two in half an hour, because you just need to revise the text and if it is correct or not. And then to have different perspectives and cultural norms. This is very, very important when you are using generative AI, because it might be that the research results which you get, or the information results which you get from generative AI of your research, will be very biased, will be only having the perspective, as I keep saying, of white, male, American dominated world. So it will not have different perspective and different cultural norms. You can ask them to have it. Sometimes gives quite good results if you ask them to have a look from different perspectives, especially in social sciences. But I don't know if it is very, very correct or not. So I think as an experienced researcher, you can use generative AI, especially for the support on different types of dissemination of writing, for data collection, and for the literature review. This is where I will recommend you to use it. And how to use this generative AI, and when it is safe and when it is viable to use it, I always ask you to look at this graph which UNESCO has created, the UNESCO decision tree, which I think is very important. It's something which I teach also my students from the beginning, and which I input them to believe very much on it. Is that, does it matter if the output is true? And then if it's not, because you know more or less the answers and it gives you only hints, then it's safe to use ChatGPT, for example. If it is yes, then you need to think you have enough expertise to verify that the output is accurate. If yes, then you are able to use it, because then you are able to take full responsibility of the mistakes and biases. And yes, then you can use it, and you need to verify each output word and sentence for accuracy and common sense. If the answer is no, if you don't have the expertise to verify the output, then it's very unsafe to use it. You can use it, but you'll have huge risk of having mistakes and biases and not having any legal responsibility taken from you for those mistakes, because you use generative AI. Even if you cite in your paper or publication that you use generative AI. So, for example, here is UNESCO's ideas, where it has current value and potential value on using LLMs for academic research. So, obviously, quite a big one is feedback on ideas or drafts. I also believe this. Oh, sorry, apologies. It has moved very far. Go back. Then the other one is summarizing any text. Again, good at this moment, but very good in the future, because it's learning very fast. And on data analyzing, especially on qualitative, but also on quantitative ones. And then the rest of them, as you see, they have quite big values like ideas, learning new concepts, having some literature review and data from scratching and rewriting and so on, and then language translation. But it's quite bad on fact finding and on keep saying also literature review, but depending on how you are searching and so on, and image generation. This is something which was produced at the end of 2023 and released in February 2024. And the situation have been a tiny bit improved. I was just very surprised recently to discover that one tool, which about 2 months ago was not that good, now is working much better than it used to. So it's always room of improvement for the new tools. In March 2024, the European Union, especially the European Research Area, have released a living guidelines on the responsible use of generative AI in research. And I would like for you to read this document if you are working with research. It doesn't matter if you are using AI or not. It's very important to read it. So in this view, I will kindly ask you to remain all the time responsible for your scientific output. If you put your name there, it's your responsibility. Even if you cite that is generative AI who is doing it. Use generative AI transparently. This means cite and say where you are using it and how, either at the end of the report, either at the beginning of the report, either in the acknowledgement part of the research paper, or you cite it exactly where you use it, but include this. All the time, be aware of all the national, international legislation and which are the research regulation for that, or if there are some research regulation from your funding agency, from your national funds or international funds or a foundation fund, they will always already have some strict regulation of what you can do and what you cannot do with the information and data which they're funding for you to research. And refrain, this is a very strong advice, refrain from using generative AI tools in sensitive areas that could impact other researchers or other organizations. I'm strongly against using generative AI tools for peer review. Imagine if somebody else's intellectual output, they might not use any AI on writing that paper, and you feed to an AI, you give to an AI their knowledge, which is not yours, because you are only the reviewer of that paper. So it's very important for you not to do that ever. And because it's very inappropriate. If you are a reviewer, then you need to read that and assess it. The editors, the scientific board of that journal or conference rely on you as an expert to give back a review, not on a generative AI to give back a review. And it's very non-ethical to do that. And the same with research proposals. So this is quite an important one to keep in mind. I quite like this using artificial intelligence tools in research guidance and so on from University of Iowa, from United States. And it gives you some ideas like generating research ideas. It will give you, if you give them a list of words and phrases, then you can do whatever you want and give you some ideas how you can do it. Finding some relevant information from articles, papers, and so on, where Google Scholar or some libraries or some repositories cannot really find them so easy and so quickly. It cuts down, I think, half of the time on literature review for this. Also, it can generate quite good titles and summaries. You give them, again, some keywords, and then it will give you some good titles. And then you can refine them from there. When I do presentations, especially as a keynote, then I always like to have a more catchy, more interesting title than a standard title, like it is for training, because in training, I want to give very precise information what's happening in that piece of training. So it's different when you are doing a keynote speech in a conference or in a public setting, where you need to have something more catchy and more journalistic style, then I also go to AI to support for that. And then you have here what limitations should be aware of. The limitations are especially the bias and discrimination, because AI can, sorry for this. Come on. My mouse is moving very fast when I touch it, and it's going over. And then, obviously, this bias can be perpetuated. Then it's plagiarism. The content which comes from AI is very often paraphrases from other resources. This means that you need to be very much aware of this and take responsibility of it. So if you are using full text copied from a text which is generated by AI, you are quite in big situation, in a very huge possibility that the text is generated by copying or adjusting something else and can be detected by an AI plagiarist tool. Then data privacy and legal issues, which are very important, and data misinformation, where it's quite important that you need to cross-reference. This is something, an example which I have from my colleague Gabriela, which I also know about it, but she done the research and find this, and I'm happy to present it to you now as this, is that a lot of the books created nowadays and having examples nowadays about them in Amazon and whatever, I have sometimes, I myself bought a book written and ordered a book for my granddaughters, which are based on an Amazon, how to say, tool, which is helping you to create a personalized book for their Christmas presents and what birthday presents, where you will have their images of their ideas and so on, which is put in the book. So it's quite a powerful context now of writing the book. And how you can do it, you give a table of contents, a theme, a list of topics, and then you expand from that topics, and then obviously you will be able to have a book, and then you cite it and so on. You use editor, and at this moment, Jasper AI is quite a good tool for doing that. That's the tool, for example, which I used to create a book this Christmas, but you can use whatever. It can be very good sometimes to create books for touristic reasons. It can be very good to create books about plants or gardening or whatever. If you have some experience and some knowledge there, it can make it very fast. Again, you need to acknowledge that you've been helped with AI on creating. Some ideas about cheating in academic papers. For example, this is a paper which is, using some examples and some ideas how people are cheating. And this is for 1.5 years ago. This is from March 2023. So even from then, a lot of information have been looking at it. This is, for example, a paper which after that have been withdrawn from publishing, because this paper has been, indicated how you can use AI and language bots and chatbots to be able to write a paper. And then these examples are exactly those which we somehow try to show as not really as a way of doing it, but also not a limit of the ethical use. You need to be very transparent about the use of AI, especially in scientific publication, project application of doctoral thesis. At this moment, there are reference styles for all the major styles, which are allowing you to cite AI. So I will kindly ask you to do that. Before going into the AI in plagiarism, let's have a look at the answers which you gave to the question. Okay, how did you use AI in research and to comment a tiny bit on them? To simplify complex ideas or topics, very good. That's the way of the going. To summary of the articles, again, if the article was not published yet, be aware if how much text you are feeding there. If you only give keywords and then ask them to write a summary based on that, and then you adjust it and use with your own example. So like, I don't know, 40% is written in a summary from AI, and then the 60% is written by you or adapted from you and with proper and exact information. That's quite an acceptable way of doing it. But if not, be aware if you're feeding all the paper to an AI tool to create a summary, that information might already be gone. If you try to publish it somewhere, it can raise a flag of plagiarism because it can be found in the databases of the information from where the LLMs are looking into. To get some directions, very good. For translation, very good. If you are using it for proofreading your doctoral thesis, again, if that doctoral thesis has not been published and that tool is from somewhere not in the university, not a safe tool to be used, be aware of how much information and how much text you are giving it. What I'm doing it very often for proofreading is where I'm not very sure if a sentence or a very short paragraph is correct, or how I can say it differently because it doesn't sound right for me. Then I can fit that and then I adapt it into the text. I don't copy it, but I use some of the terminology and the words and how it's using it to put it in there. But to have a doctoral thesis written by you and then feed it into ChatGPT, for example, to proofreading and to have it in a better English or in a better language, that's, in my opinion, a mistake. A researcher mistake, which can cost you your PhD thesis. But again, this is my opinion based on the experience as an editor and so on, and based on an experience which I saw how many things had been lost to ChatGPT especially and Copilot, but especially to ChatGPT if the researcher has put that information there. I like that you don't. Good. The overall the cohesion of your writing, very good. If you can help me with some of the Russian, Laura and anybody else.
Yes. Well, there is a comment here. She or he used the AI to get, to analyze, or to receive any other access to identifiable data about
Yes,
that are part of the research.
that's also a good idea, because if you are doing information, I don't know, for example, especially like historians, geographical, or even social science, and you want to be able to understand something more about a period or a typology of persons, ChatGPT or any other tool, especially, for example, I think more Site and Copilot can give you, and Gemini can give you a very good answer. Please,
to create presentations, to structure information, assistance with the analysis and interpretation of the data. No, I haven't used it yet, but I'd like to learn to use it for materials analysis.
Yeah, I will show you some examples for that. Analysis of data, it's quite good. If the data is fully new, imagine you are doing a big research on medicine or a new vaccine, and then you are putting all that data in a research tool to create an analyze. If that AI research tool is not something on your server and completely protected, don't do it, because you give up a lot of knowledge and a lot of information to somebody else freely without asking of anything. And then you want to publish it under your own name. It's not going to happen very good. But brainstorming is very good, data collection, and to shorten the articles, again, be aware how you're shortening the articles, drawing graphs and tables. It's very good on tables, yes, I also do that. If I think that text, it doesn't look right and it's too much text there, that I will be looking at to have a table there, and I do that quite often, especially with, we have a tool which we are now testing it in our university to have it in our university servers. We still use a lot of LLMs and data from others, but hopefully that will be much better quite soon. And then for the thesis and experience review, again, be careful, use keywords, small bits of text, not give you innovative ideas, because for example, like in a PhD thesis, the first thing which you need to prove is your contribution to knowledge. If your contribution to knowledge was already given to somebody else before you publish the thesis or before you publish the article, how you can prove that it's your own contribution to knowledge? Then obviously completing tasks, so very good examples here, and I'm very happy that we can comment on them. And if anybody else wants to comment on them, please just raise your hand or open your microphone. It's not necessarily that I have the absolute truth on this. And if you speak only in Kazakh or Russian language, it's not a problem. You can speak and somebody will translate it. Artificial intelligence analyzes the results of completing tasks in the learning process on the basis of which I calculate the risk of deduction. Such an analysis helps teachers to pay attention to that. Yes, this is learning analytics. It's something which we've been doing for some time now with AI tools, and it can be very, very useful and very good. So very good on doing that. And machine learning algorithms to analyze the data. Yes. Very good examples on doing this. Then let's go to speak something about AI and plagiarism and examples of that. So here is, for example, are some of my ideas and something which I wanted to be very clear on something. Like AI creates content based on the analysis and synthesis of vast amounts of data. But without knowledgeable doing it, replicate existing material, because this is how it's trained to do it. It's because it wants to do it wrongly, but it's in the core algorithm is this, to replicate, to find better, how to say, words and information next to each other and to replicate that. Plagiarism is where you intentionally or not by intention, you copy somebody else without giving proper credit. So then you realize how easy you can plagiate without knowing if you use AI. Because AI algorithm is from the beginning designed to replicate existing material in different ways or in a bit new different way, or completely as it was. So be very much aware of that. What is my idea, which is also something which the big associations of librarians are doing it and advising, and this is something which, for example, in IEEE as editor, we are doing all the time, and we are suggesting it, is that check that paper or that essay or whatever against anything else which the author has written before. If it is a new author, then again, even look more carefully on what it's written. If that article or essay is not in the same style as the author has written or the student had written something before, then it's the first flag, red flag which you have. Choose a reliable tool for validating AI in plagiarism. Check it sometimes in 2 or 3 tools, not rely only on one tool. Check the original data if you have access, or if not, ask the author to send you the original data on which the study or the paper is based. And then again, check the images against AI image creation, because quite a lot of the images have been created with AI. For example, this is an article which was just published. I've read it last week about in The Scientist about the AI misconduct in 2024. And in 2023, more than 14,000 papers have been retracted. So after they already passed and they become public, somebody, another author have said, oh gosh, this is my research. Look, here is the paper on which I published it, or the article of my website. And then because of this, the paper needed to be retracted because the papers have been written with a lot of AI and plagiarism automatically out of it, because of this fingerprint of research. So fingerprint in research, you try to read about that. It's something which we teach our PhD students quite a lot, about how you look at the fingerprint in research and to be able to really have a very good and very proper ethical thing. And why? These are the first things which you are doing it. Unverifiable reagents. So you cannot check the initial data. The phrases are a bit fake. They don't really look, how to say, properly how we are using the words in scientific publication. It's duplicated, used, or manipulated images. And then obviously that they hasn't say where it is. I found a paper which I just reviewed this year where the author even left something like a text which the AI has sent, like as an AI tool, I cannot guarantee that this information is correct. And the author haven't deleted that text from the paper which was sent for review. So they even didn't read the text which they sent to publication. So I really cannot understand it sometimes. This is, for example, something which was done in 2023 about how Turnitin and different other tools are using it, and I will go back to each of them because then it already identifies quite a lot of examples about this. But, for example, in 2024, at the beginning, so almost a year ago in February, together with two of my colleagues, we wrote jointly with the support of ChatGPT, so this was ChatGPT, a paper which was then sent to be able to be validated and so on. And then we asked IEEE Turnitin validation tools, because this is what IEEE is using it, to identify the plagiarism. I need to say that they identify initially, Turnitin identify only about 30 mistakes and only about one big one, and only around 17% that it's fake, and only 4% that it's AI. So it didn't identify it properly. This summer, Turnitin has been released a new AI tool, which is a tiny bit better, because I've done this, for example, with another paper, which I was asking to review. And after it was, I knew that it's fake. So after I gave the answer and rejected the paper, I wanted to demonstrate the author, because we had a bit of a discussion with him that it's not a fake paper, it's not written with AI. Not necessarily fake, but it was written with AI. And then I've done this with Turnitin again. And it already said where and how much. So you can see, for example, quite a lot of it was generated with AI in terms of conclusions, on the analysis, on the methodology, not only on the literature review, where I expect sometimes a bit of AI writing as an editor or as a reviewer. So obviously, nowadays, different AI tools like also Turnitin and others can flag quite easily how this is possible and happen. These are some of the tools which I tested and I use it in my experience with AI plagiarism. One is obviously Turnitin, if you have access to it, because it's quite expensive. The other one is AI content detector. I think there is also a free version or a freemium version. Zero GPT, which is still free, as far as I know, it's still free everywhere to be used. And then Originality AI, which is quite good. Zero GPT, I think, gives, if the paper was written with the support of ChatGPT, gives very, very good, about 90%. I use it also sometimes for the student. When I had doubts that there's something is not written by a student and I need to be able to prove it. Because if we want to fail a student, we need to prove that this is not only believe or have a hunch or a guess that is not correct. And to be able to prove it, that is plagiarism, and the student needs to retake the exam of that assessment, you need to prove it. This is in our guidelines. And for that, we use, I use Zero GPT as the first tool because it's more or less free. And quite a lot of the students use ChatGPT for writing things. So it's detecting it quite good and quite easy and quite fast also. Proof Fig, this is, I can't remember but order, I think it's the name of the researcher which started some, even before ChatGPT, quite a lot of work collectively to be using it, how to say, different tools and AI tools to detect AI generated images. And it's getting much better nowadays. And he started a company now which is doing this, but it's a researcher idea which have started all of this, and it's based on image recognition and this methodology. So I have here a question. If you used any AI tools when writing a research paper, two people have been already answered. I'm just curious to see some of the results. I'm leaving it a bit more. And until then, maybe the translation is catching up with me. And if you have questions, I'm happy to take them.
Diana, yes, we have a number of questions.
Okay, please.
So the first question is from Maria Kochkorbaeva. How do we ensure that we keep the ethical norms while using artificial intelligence at educational institutions?
I'm not really understanding this. Can you repeat this question?
Yeah, how can we make sure that we keep or observe ethical norms in using artificial intelligence?
You need to have guidelines in the university or in the research institute. And then those guidelines need to be very precise. That where you can use it, how you can use it, and what tools. I will give you also towards the end of this presentation different examples of where you can get inspired of having those type of guidelines. If you don't have regulations, then you cannot say it's illegal. This is why all the major publications, editors like, I don't know, Elsevier, Springer, IEEE, have released for a year and a half now ideas and tools on how to write and how to do research with AI, and also how to cite with AI. So that's why it's very, very important to do this, to have these regulations and to have them clear. That's one. Second, do training, especially with young researchers, because not necessarily they, also we received from quite experienced researcher sometimes things which were done with AI, but an experienced researcher will not jeopardize, will not put at risk his entire or her entire career because of doing a mistake like that. Because once you published or you sent for publication a paper which was written with AI, is a red flag which is then sent to your name to all the publication. So everybody in the editorial world will, if they will check it with any tool, will get a red flag. This author already had a paper written with AI and rejected or retracted, which is even worse. You are in the blacklist. And as a young researcher, it's very bad for you to have that from the beginning. So the culture of academic integrity is very important to be raised and to be, how to say, transmitted to everybody, especially to young researchers. So if do we have another question,
Yes.
Laura?
Yes. How can AI be used to support students with special needs, including those with physical, mental, cognitive needs, disabilities?
I will leave Gabriela to answer that question later on. She has some experiences on that. I don't really have too much experience on that. I cannot speak from my own experience. I know there are some tools and we are using, for example, speech-to-text recognition, text-to-speech also as AI tools for those which are visually impaired and so on. But in terms of physical and mental and cognitive disabilities, I'm a bit of a loss, I need to say. I don't really have that personal experience, and hopefully Gabriela will be able to give you some.
And we have one raised hand. Otto.
Okay, thank you very much. The first question is, you made mention of prompts, being sent and LLM stores our prompts. I've not necessarily taken the time to read through the terms and conditions when opening an account. So is this not against the user's privacy for these prompts to be stored and distributed or whatever, however you put it? It's not against the user's privacy. And secondly, I want to ask all my questions at once. And secondly, how is the biasness of AI treated? How is it fixed? Because I know there are some things you ask on AI. Maybe you are asking some information about Kazakhstan. Because of the tool you're using, let's say like ChatGPT, it gives you some information that may not necessarily be true. There's a lot of biasness in it. How is that being fixed? Thirdly, talking about this AI detector tools, how can we actually rely on the authenticity of these tools? Can we really rely on them? And lastly, I use this tool, Notion AI, but I don't really know how to use it effectively. So maybe we can give an overview of how to use the primary uses of the Notion AI.
Yeah, I also use Notion AI. So if we have time, I will try to show it to you. My plan was to show you another tool, which is not, it's a tool which is completely open source and so on, which is quite good for literature review and for starting it up. If I will have time, I will try to get into Notion AI also. Notion AI is not that easy to be used. I will start from the end with the answers. Basically, because you need to have more people using it from your team. If more people from your team is using it, then it's quite good on putting together ideas and writing them, management, because it's more project management which you can do with Notion AI than really proper research and so on. Then about how the biases can be fixed, I doubt that the biases will ever be fixed with AI. probably in 2 or 3 years, not this year, because the tools are not reliable enough yet. And it's already a bias which was feeding there. So now they're doing a lot, because initially when the LLMs were looking at the data, I don't know why, don't ask me why, because I consider this a big mistake as algorithm producers and so on. They haven't put in the algorithms and also in the databases that they need to look also at the sources, the primary source of the information, which is minimally research. Was a big mistake, and because those biases have been duplicated and it's already embedded there, it's very difficult to get rid of them. So I have not an answer to that. I don't know a solution to that thing, and I know that it's imagine that European Union is putting huge pressure, economically pressure, for the major companies to try to get rid of the biases and disinformation. And I think, I'm not sure, but I think they really want this, to get rid of the bias, to make their tools better and more reliable and more true. But it's not that easy, especially that not everybody really wants to make the tools true. We all know that there are parts of this world where, for political or geostrategical reasons, they feed wrong and biased answers to the databases and to LLMs and so on. And this is something which, in the world where is good and bad, and where interests are much more bigger than the truth, it's very difficult. So I don't really have an answer, just explanations, which probably even make them public is not very correct. Then you ask about, which was the first question? I'm sorry, I forgot about the first question.
LLMs and privacy concerns of the users.
Oh yes, the privacy. So any AI tool which you are using has in their terms of regulation a sentence which says quite clearly that the information which you give to them is also for them to be used for feeding their training agent. So this means that you are giving up some rights to that information to the tool which you are using. If that tool is not in your university, is not owned by a national research agency or by your university, or as European Union is creating now research tools, especially for data analysis, which is owned by them and they can control what's happening with the data and so on, then you are feeding a big company data training agent. So this is something which you need to be aware of. It's what I call it a calculated risk. This calculated risk is valid anywhere with any tool or web-based tool or mobile web tool you are using. Even, I don't know, Google Maps. If you use Google Maps open on your phone and you navigate in the city or everywhere, even if you don't look in Google Maps, they will remember and know where you are almost all the time. You can change the settings that to identify where you are only when you are using the app, and then close the app every time when you are not using it. And then you reduce the risk of them knowing where you are and what you've done during the day, where you traveled and what you've been doing. But when you're using it, you are feeding that data to them. This is why Google Maps can know how much traffic is somewhere, especially with Android phones, because in those it's embedded. You cannot fully close it down ever. So it's a calculated risk. You know you have a tool which will allow you to know where is the most traffic on an area, and you know that to know that you are also feeding that data. So This is why I call it a calculated risk, where you are using something for your good, for your tools, but you know that you are also giving data. The same in research, in learning, in any other field. And you need to be aware of this risk, and you need to be aware what's happening with that and to know. If you know it, then it's your own human decision how you're using it and why. So I only see 45 answers until now. I hope to have at least 100. We are 213 people in this meeting. So I will kindly ask you to do this because it's quite important, not only for me, but also for you to understand, and also for the terms of references which you need to write at the end, because I will give you all of these Menti results, and it will help you to understand, because these are the answers from your nations, from these participants which are coming from your country. It's not something which is given by, I don't know, any other tools or something. So this is why we'll kindly ask you for as many as possible from you to answer to this, because 47 out of 200 is too little to be reliable when you're writing your references to really analyze it. I'm moving now to the next Menti, and I will leave this open. What AI tools have you used in research or publication? This is again helpful for you. More or less, not necessarily. I don't do this for me. I do it for you because it's helping you to analyze, to assess, to reflect, to learn from each other. So, and then I will show you some tools while you are answering to this. Okay, some research and AI tools. Notion, which already have been mentioned, is an all-in-one workspace. As I call it, is more a project management thing, and I will show you a tiny bit of this. WAI is quite a good AI research assistant. Alicit is assist researchers. I quite use this one, it's good. Perplexity is web search for ready-made answers. It's like we used to have this Quora or other tools in the past. Now it's replaced with Perplexity. Killbot is quite a powerful paraphrasing tool, which you can use, but only for short parts, not for the whole part of it, or short parts to really assist, but then think about it and don't use it, don't copy it exactly as it's given to you. Adjust it again. DeepL as translator, we use this DeepL now. I use it to translate some of the things from the chat during this meeting and so on, because it gives us quite things. Cite AI for real citation to actually publish paper. And my preference one is also Research Rabbit, and I will show you that tool also because that's quite good. And Consensus, which is also an AI search engine for research and information. Notion, as I say, is more about documents and wikis, and as a tool to develop research. So you can, if you pay for it and install it to yourself, it can be a good tool. It takes a bit of a learning curve, but only if you use it as a team. If you use it alone, it's no point of doing it because it doesn't help you too much. But as a team, it might replace what, I don't know, Microsoft Visual and project management together are doing, where you have different documents, wikis, ideas, you share between them. You have also even a calendar to adjust it between you, and it's helping you to keep track of the research. Again, be careful what you are doing it. If you install it on your servers, we install it, we don't use it anymore. I used to use it for a project with my team, more or less also for checking it, but my team was not so, because if you don't feed the information, like with any project management tool, if not everybody is writing at the beginning of the day what they're doing, and then in the wiki where they are and having exchange of ideas, and then AI to give you input on that and feedback on that, because this is what it's good at, then it's not used. And my team said that they still prefer for us to meet, discuss, and then brainstorm ideas. I use it for brainstorming with them, but when we don't feed the data there and them to give us the thing and the results. So it's so and so, depends. It's at the beginning. It's my opinion, it can be a very powerful tool, but it's still at the beginning. Perplexity AI, which gives you some information, some ideas. It's good for ideas. Killboard for paraphrasing and for information and research. And it's quite good on doing that. For what I use, I think I already showed this tool. I use a lot of tools, especially Read AI. I think it's the best one. Firefly and Human AI is also very good for online meetings like the Zoom meeting, WebEx, Google Meet, Teams, whatever meeting. It's very good on each of them. And it's also connecting it with Notion. So you can connect it with Notion and from the meeting to get the tasks already for each of the people in the Notion. So if you have all the people in the Notion tool and then use Read AI in the meetings, it will feed back in the Notion which are the tools, which the tasks, the what everybody needs to do, and with a bit of description between them. People for translation. I think it translates quite good also in, I think, because I don't speak that language, so I cannot check it. But for example, in Romanian, which is not a very popular language, it translates quite correctly. It makes less mistakes than, I don't know, Google Translate or any other translation tool. And my favorite tool is Research Rabbit. And I will show it to you in a second, because I really want to be able to show to you how it's working. Because this analyzes research papers, is an open source supported by community. It's a team of developers which are working on it, which are working based on donations until now. I really hope that it's not going to disappear or being bought by a big company or something like that, because it's getting better and better. I tested yesterday and it's much better than it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. So it discovers more papers, does better visualization, and connect also with Zotero, with Semantic Scholar. Semantic Scholar is the main tool which is at the origin of this, and Semantic Scholar is an API which you can install in your server and do things. This is what we've been trying to use Semantic Scholar to be able to really do the research analysis on our university, for example. And this is how it looks like. I will go 2 or 3 slides more, and then I'll come back and try to show it to you, because I need to open the web browser for that. And I will also try to show you a bit of ALSIT also. So it's finding my papers, and then you explore it and have visualization out of it. You have authors with whom you are writing up and so on. ALSIT is the other one which analyzes research papers. So it gives you very good for literature review. It's something which a PhD student or a research assistant in my team will do. I will give them look at papers and have information about a topic, and then they will search and do this, I don't know, 2-3 days to find papers, and then to write a report and to write a summary, what's happening in the publication. ALSIT can do this in half an hour, and then even faster. And it's a good start. It's a good start. It's not everything, but it's somewhere from where you can start doing something. Like, for example, is this example here, which I hope you can read and see, where I asked to describe major activities in the last 6 years for open education in EU universities. And he looked at 125 million academic papers. And the first 4 abstracts, those which are more popular, it put here. I can ask them to look only at the papers from the last 2 years or something like that. So I can have a lot of filters there. And all of them are very good papers. So Kirchner, Tate, Lane, and Halderschuk are papers which I know, that's because I'm an expert on this, more or less. and it summarized it quite correctly. So it's done a good job, I can say that. Consensus is doing the same. So, for example, I asked about interoperability between different systems of user management and access in universities, and then it gives me ideas of what to look at. So, sorry, apologies for this. And then how to analyze this. And for each of them, it gives me a paper where I can find some or one or two papers about this. It exists more papers and more information, some probably even better than this, but it's again a starting point from where you can start with some research when you try to do something and understand something. And as you see, they're not simple questions which I'm asking here. Cite. Again, you have a prompt, and then this is like a research assistant again. It's giving you information, and then it's giving the references from where it's happening. This is a capture from their website because I consider it quite good on explaining how it happened. And then you can export those references to Zotero or to BibTeX or to other tools which you are using for references, and really have it again as a starting point for your literature review and for your support on a system. This is why I said that as an editor, nowadays, I consider that it's quite a lot of the literature review, which I read in papers, which I review, is based on AI. So this is why I somewhere where I can accept that AI is a support tool, but I ask all the time the authors to cite this. The literature review was supported or partially supported with a research assistant. Not hide it, be transparent about it. And then Semantic Scholar, the API which I mentioned, which is a reliable source for developers. You need to have it installed on your server, develop it, adapt it, create databases out of it in your library, and can really work on doing it. And then the other one, it's EditPad, which is a good plagiarism check also, and it will edit text and it will adapt it at different levels of writing it and so on. So I know my students are using EditPad for writing it up, so this is why I'm checking it and asking them to, to basically do it, because to some, especially to some general tests, especially in social sciences or history or geography or literature and so on, this is very, very good and can do a good job for a student if you, not so much in engineering, but in social sciences and humanities, I think can do a very good job on doing it, especially in English. I don't know how it's done it in other languages. I check it only with English and Romanian, and it's, in both languages is doing it quite good. And also you can have references and so on, which are more or less correct. So it's, but it's, I like it that it's also say that here that it's generating essays on harmful, dangerous, and illegal topics not allowed. So they are not allowing that. You already saw Gabriela mentioning this quite a lot. It's a tool which I also use it quite a lot and recommend it and encourage my students to use it properly, is Notebook LM, which is a very good sort guide and assistant and so on. And then I will show you also the examples on Statista, but let me go first until you will answer also to the questions in Menti. I will want to show to you give me a second to be sure that I'm sharing with you the correct view, because I had it open. Let me stop it. Okay, because this is something which I really want to show to you, and then to be able to. Hold on a second. Apologies for taking a bit of time. Okay. So this is the research rabbit, which I've told you. As I said, it's Spotify for papers, and it's looking at papers and so on. So it's identifying and personalizing and creating networks based on the papers which you already have or which already existed. And it's creating very good visualization and so on. And it's, their mission is to be free forever for researchers. So if you identify like that, and it's also, you can donate to them, and it's part of it. So let me show you, for example, this is a last example. I close the other collection, so it's not in. I put a paper, right? Selected one of my papers. All the time I'm trying to give information about myself, because this is something which I'm responsible for. It's my information that I'm giving. So I put a paper which was published 2 years ago, so not a very old, not a very recent one, a journal paper. And then I ask to find, for example, similar work, and it will find it. I'm doing this in real time, yeah? So it will find other work which is similar to what I've done. Then to find, for example, all the citations done in the last 2 years of this paper, then all the references, for example, which I'm using it and from where is using it. And it's a very good, starting point. Then I can say from here, new suggested author. And for example, okay, these are my authors. These are not, but Alden Rivers is one who started the change makers movement and so on. So I want to see what they published, other papers which they published, and it shows to me. And I can read the abstract and have a link to that. So it's very good when you start doing an idea or something like that to identify, but also after you publish a paper to give you some new ideas what's happening, because this is feeding it from real time, more or less. So this is how it's happening. And then, for example, if I want to go back and I will say, select all, this is all my 182 papers, which I asked there to have it and so on. Now it's thinking a tiny bit. Let me show and so on. I can have a shareable link, make it collection public, have different collaborators for it, but I can also have similar work. And then it will create a visualization of the similar work with other authors and with myself. So these are authors with whom I've been working together, or authors which I referenced. And I can find any of them, and I can find the link content out of it, from where it's coming, you see, and where all of this have been feeding as references. So even Wikipedia has been using some of these papers as references and so on. So this is why it's quite good on also identify your citations and what's happening and where it is and so on. So, or you can do, I will say not to select all. Let me do a refresh on this. And I will go back to another paper. That's a paper which I have it with Gabriela written also. And then where it will say, okay, all the citations, or all the similar work, and then it will create the connections between us, okay? And then with these authors, this is the connections between all the authors which have been using our papers as citation, as they cite in the papers. And then I can take one of them, for example, which I know, and have a look at their published work. And this is a very good starting point for inspiration and for identifying it. To do this with any other tool will take me hours or days of searching and going back and analyzing the data. And it's very, very good because it's analyzed and comprehensively. And I have For example, in my situation, it only identified, I think, 180 papers. Some months ago, only identified 50 papers. If you can feed some more papers, you can ask to add papers. If you ask them to add your all papers, I have more than 400 papers. So there are a lot of them which have not been checked, but all of the papers are looking into direct connections with this initial paper, which I asked them to find. Okay, I can improve the collection by adding new papers or creating connections and so on. Because this is, for example, it will show me the connections with the other papers which I written and so on. Then you can find your entire citations and so on. So it's quite good, and it will help you to look also at something else, new papers, new ideas, and so on. You can connect to Zotero, as I said, have a new collection, new category on this. If you have a category based, I don't know, on AI in education, then it will look at the papers in AI in education. If you feed one paper which you know, or you find it, or you read about it, and then it will find connections, and it's a very good start for having literature review and impression, and then understanding also the authors. Also for yourself to analyze your work and to look for other ideas and work when you're at the beginning of doing some research. And it's getting better. As I said, I've been using it for some time, and it's much better than it used to be. Let me. Yes, Research Rabbit AI. This is the tool I showed the link in the first slide. Let me go back to my presentation now. Then the other example is, which I want to drag your attention, is about data. Because data is very important when doing research, not necessarily only in social sciences or historians or so on, also when you're doing research in any other areas. And it's very important to look at Statista. Statista is worldwide statistical data collected from the national statistics. And they had a new tool, which is called Statista AI, Statista Research AI, I think it's their full name, which in fact is based on a semantic search, the semantic scholar one, Cohere technology, all that Statista data. And then it's based with Claude 3, which we are also using as LLMs for all of our work in my university. And then also people are looking at it. So in very short time, it will give you some information. This is an example which already exists there, because you only have 2 weeks of free use. After that, you need to pay for them to be able to use it. But if you really have some funds on a research project where you are needing a lot of statistical data, then it's very good. I use it only very recently for one of my research where I'm looking at micro-credentials and the micro-credentials use, and how electronic diplomas and open badges are happening. And it gave me a very good result. I mean, obviously, it's based on statistic data from Statista. So big institutes which have huge data now develop their own AI tools to analyze better that data and to give you better results and quicker results for that data. So this is the future where also us as universities and research institutes can do it. Implement the tools, develop it, and look at the data from what we are doing. Pharmacologists are looking, big pharma companies are doing this now also. And for example, some repositories and libraries where you can look at different, because libraries are the place where a lot of this research, how to say, knowledge and guides are happening. These are some of the guides which I recommend, because I've read them and they're reliable and very good ones, and they're in English. All of them. I have no examples in Russian. I'm sorry for this. The only other language which I speak outside of French is, outside of Romanian is French and Italian, so I cannot really give you more examples than this. And these are, how to say, something which is coming from a paper which was published very recently about using artificial intelligence in academic writing and research. And it's something which I also believe that is very correct and very right. So these are the basic ideas of everything which I've told in this 1 hour. Is about where you can write it and how. You can look at idea generation or research planning to have some expanding the text, have some auto-completion where you cannot find that proper word on something. And to we were relying until now on synonyms and so on, and different tools, Grammarly. And also Grammarly AI is quite a powerful tool on this. Then literature review and synthesis and identify information, quite strongly now coming on data interpretation, but be aware where and how you are looking at the data, on editing and publishing support, and then very good on sometimes on communication and outreach, to tailor it for social media, for example, for languages, for different languages and so on. And then again, a huge impact in research is the ethics, and that we need to teach this ethical use of AI with, especially with PhD students, master students, and young researchers. So these are my final takes, is you need to prioritize research integrity, to have fully responsibility of what you are publishing or writing, or where and how, what data you are giving to any AI tool, to be transparent on this, to say when and how you used AI tool, and obviously it can be used at all research stages, probably even more in the future than at this moment. Okay? So let's go back to the Menti. I want to comment a tiny bit on the tools. Let me see. Okay. So very few of you again have answered to this. I will strongly encourage you to be more active on answering on Menti, please. Again, as I said, this is more or less for you to use. You will have all of these results and you will be able to look at them. ChatGPT, quite a lot. Perplexity, good. ChatGPT, DeepL, good. You haven't used it yet. Consensus, Google Vignette, Notion AI, Agent GPT, Super AGI. Super AGI is also quite a good tool. I think it's coming there. The problem is who is owning it. So you need to look all the time. First thing which I'm doing when I'm looking at the tool is I'm looking who is the developer, how transparent are they, who they are, where is their office, and then search online information about them, who is owning that company, and what sort of tools. If they are very transparent and say, we use Cloud Standard, we use Semantic Scholar in our, how transparent are they in what algorithms and what data training models they are using? If I don't see that, I don't use that tool. Because that's the first level of trust which you need to build up in using that AI tool. Then, for literature reviews, Semantic Scholar and connected papers, very good, all of them, because they are more or less APIs which you can install in your university. ChatGPT, but it's stupid. Yep, it is stupid, especially for some topics which are very specific and very right. You remember yesterday I gave you examples how I trained ChatGPT to answer something correctly in a topic which has big interest for me. And I wanted that somebody else, if he's asking that question, to get a correct answer. So I trained ChatGPT for topics which you are doing. You can also do that. For, I don't know, you keep saying that the information about Kazakhstan is not correct. Train the LLMs to give correct answer. Keep giving it and saying, this is not correct. Look at this information. Cite information which is public and correct and feeding it to them. This is how you train it. For literature review, for statistical software, yes, it's quite good. Elicit, ChatGPT, Consensus, Research Rabbit, very good. I'm happy that somebody else discovered it before. Copilot, yes, Copilot is also, Gemini is also quite good sometimes and so on. But again, in research, be more careful about it, and Perplexity. So these are all reliable tools and quite good tools, and in which you can more or less use, as I said, with that note of caution, which I keep mentioning from beginning. So I will stop sharing and see if we have some more answers or questions, and then we will move to Gabriela.
Yes, we have some questions. Ahmedjan Sugraliyev is asking, could you please show once again slide with your data, Diana?
Okay, yes, I can, obviously. Hold on a second.
And also another question, the tools that you have just shown, are they free of charge to use?
Not all of them. Or they are what we call it, what we call it is a freemium model. So this is my data where you can find some information about myself.
Mm-hmm. Another question is from Ahmedjan Sugraliyev. Could AI make literature medical review or meta-analysis in local languages, for example, in Russian?
I don't know about any tools which are doing analysis in Russian. And I don't know how much I can say about this, but I will have a note of caution of any tool which is only dedicated in Russian language, because that tools will be developed usually by Russian researchers, where is a huge political input. Also the American tools have a huge political input. As I keep saying, their data training model is based on American dominancy structure. It's the same with all of the other Russian tools or Chinese tools. They are based on Russian or Chinese or something like that dominance. So it's a lot of political modeling existing into those. So you need to be very much aware of that. But I don't know any of them. I can't help you here because A, I don't understand it, and B, I cannot search for it. Quite a lot of access to those tools are forbidden from European Union.
Okay, thank you. We have some more questions, but should we leave it to the Q&A session, Diana? Or take them
it's
now?
up to you. If they're related to research and science, then it's probably better to answer them now.
Okay.
If they are more general like this one, then leave it for the others, because some of the questions I can read, but some I need to translate to be able. Like, for example, this about make literature medical review or meta-analysis. Generally, I will not feed any medical data. So if you have patients' data, don't feed it on any AI tool. Only if that AI tool is something which is given by the National Health Ministry or by the Research Institute or something like that. For example, there is Health AI, a very powerful tool, which the American hospitals are using it. Now also the British hospitals are using it. In Romania, we don't have only two tools, both of them developed by Romanians, one developed by former students, which is looking at X-rays, that radiographies, and analyzing that X-rays from data which exists in our national system. So it's very, compact. It's here, it's held in the national health system, is not outside. You cannot use it as a public, only radiologists can use it. It's a very good tool which helps radiologists to give better and quicker feedback for X-rays, and it's been developed in Romania by some students, which I think from 2018 have been starting working on this. They're my former students, and this is why I know so much about it. So yes, if there is tools like that, then yes, but these are very restricted tools. But medical patient data to be given to ChatGPT, no.
Okay.
I would say no.
Another question relates to the research. If the author in his research used the artificial intelligence and made a reference to the artificial intelligence, but the artificial intelligence just copied someone's idea and the author is not aware of that, so to which extent will the author be responsible for that?
This is the Occam razor. I know. This is the big question which we have in editorials debate. How much is the mistake of the author and how much we can blame AI? This is why all the editors are asking you to sign that, to acknowledge that you take full responsibility of what you're publishing under your name, even if it was written by an AI. It's your own responsibility to check if that text or information is not plagiarism from somewhere else. So if the AI tool cannot give you references from where that information is coming, do not use it. If it gives you references, then search for that references in other tools. I mean, Semantic Scholar, Google Scholar, databases of your library, and then validate it there and then cite it correctly. It's not an easy feature. It's not easy, but we need to do it if you really want to be not have, because the problem at the end is that if you make one mistake, you have a career, I don't know, 15, 20, 30 years. You make one mistake and then you are blacklisted by all the editorials in the world because they are sharing their data monthly. So every month, all the big editors, publishing houses, share the data of what they identify as authors of papers by plagiarism or misuse of data is used. Is also the other expression.
Mm-hmm. Another question. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, please, just I interjected because I wanted to ask a follow-up question to your response right now. Sometimes the ChatGPT can actually give wrong references. Yeah, so how do we manage that? Because I get a wrong reference, I get information from ChatGPT. So how is that managed?
You don't use it. You read it, you get inspiration, you get ideas, and then you look for that information somewhere else. Either in the library, either in Google Scholar, or anywhere else. You don't use it. If you cannot rely on where and how the data is coming, don't use it, especially for publication. You can use it for inspiration. It gives you this idea. It's like you will have a discussion with a colleague and it gives you an idea. So take it like this, not ad literam, so not as it is, but as an inspiration.
Okay, thank you. And one more question. What successful examples of the application of AI in research papers could you give?
I already showed them to you. As I said, as an editor, I'm also editor in 2 or 3 journals now, I think in 3 journals at this moment. I expect that a lot of research review, literature review, is done with AI or supported by AI or working together with AI, not fully done by AI. I don't expect that. I expect that you are also reading those papers, not just copying that the results and putting it in a paper, but also reading that paper. But I don't, as I said, I don't expect this to be the norm. I need to say in the editorial world, as far as I know, I don't have the absolute truth, everybody is very untrustful. So all the big publishing companies are nowadays really checking and really not trusting you, especially if you are at the beginning, or especially if you don't publish too much. Because the first thing which you remember I put there is that you check with other author work. If you are an author which has 50 papers, all in the same area, all written in the same style, the publishing house or the editors trust you more that you are writing correctly than the others. But if you are at the beginning of the career, then it's a big question. And it's this is why in some cases it takes longer to get some paper published or approved for publishing. And those which are saying that we approve for publishing in a week or two, I don't trust those publications. Because this means that somewhere, somehow is not correct and trusted and fair. And it's a big debate nowadays. It's a huge debate. My opinion, my personal opinion, is that the only way forward to avoid this, and I didn't use it in this presentation, is to use open science. I have another presentation which I give with open science and AI. And I strongly believe that if we will have all the use of fully transparent, fully open access to science and research and publication, then all of this untrust and plagiarism will not happen so often. Because it will be easily identifiable and learnable by any semantic scholar engine or by anybody, and you can find it very easily and read it. But this means open access to research. Publishing houses don't want this. They have big money which they make out of publication. You know that it's a huge industry, this publishing industry, and they don't want this. So this is the problem. In my personal opinion, if we will go to open access and open science, we solve 90% of the problem of plagiarism generally, and also we will support better AI tools and we will have a better AI facilities with research and science. Good. So let's move to Gabriela, Laura, okay? And then we'll come back anyway.
Diana, will we have a break or will we have a break later?
I think we have a break now. I don't know how it's
Yeah.
in the schedule.
Yes, we have a break from 12 till 12:15, I guess.
15.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have a break. I think I took a bit longer time than this, but it was a lot of questions. So we will see how we will manage with the next presentation the next time. So let's have a break of 15 minutes. Gabriela, we are already very late. She prepared a wonderful presentation, really a wonderful thing for you.
Okay, so we'll see in 15 minutes.
Yes, thank you very much. Уважаемые коллеги, у нас кофе-брейк, перерыв 15 минут, и мы с вами встречаемся в 11:15. Можете оставаться в Zoom, не обязательно выходить. Всем спасибо. Уважаемые коллеги, продолжаем наш семинар. Сейчас у нас выступает Габриэла Гроссак. Тема ее выступления «Трансформация системы высшего образования в свете искусственного интеллекта». Габриэла, the floor is yours now.
Thank you very much. Let me share the screen. I think this one. Can you tell me if you see the slide?
Yes, we can see the slide.
Okay, because the time isn't our best friend, I will try to keep this presentation short and just look at some of the aspects that are related to assessment. But I have to mention that we'll only be scratching the surface because it's a complex topic. And I will not be diving into issues like AI-powered proctoring tools or video surveillance. We see that a lot in pandemic. From my point of view, these topics are highly technical and require dedicated sessions to unpack it properly. So just look at how AI and especially generative AI can enhance assessment practices. So I would like to emphasize this slide based on what Diana said earlier. I think it's important not only in research papers or study. I think it's important in any presentations, in any material that we put a disclaimer like this, or I don't know, we can find other ways. So this presentation was not created by any AI, but I have to acknowledge that I polish my English because it isn't my strong point, the English language. So without other further knowledge, I think it's important to start this discussion on how to use AI in assessment because there are a lot of possibilities here. Automating tasks, enhancing creativity, providing instant feedback, fostering deeper learning, and so on. But the real question is, what should assessment look like in these new times that we are living? What should prioritize? Efficiency, learning, ethics, innovations? Because as you see on the screen, AI offers methods like AI-powered assessment for instant feedback, AI-enhanced assessment, I don't know, to complement traditional methods, Gen AI for interactive learning, and so on. I personally prefer the term AIDA, AI-driven assessment, because I think it encapsulates AI's potential to guide evaluation meaningfully. And it's unrelated to AIDA the robot, and you see it on the screen, AIDA the robot artist. And I think her work challenges our understanding of creativity. Recently, I read an article about a paint of AIDA robots just sold with $1 million. And I think it's showing how AI's role can extend beyond technical outputs to reshape cultural and educational paradigms. But before we move further into our discussion, I would like to share insights from a recent study. It was conducted by Microsoft on the topic AI in education, higher education especially. And if you see, 24% of leaders, 42% of educators, and 52% of students point to the potential rise of academic dishonesty as a key issue. And we heard about that in the previous session. So for me, these figures emphasize how the critical role of assessment design to address these challenges. And it's clear that our traditional methods of assessment may no longer suffice. So the way we design assessment and conduct evaluations must change. And this must change, firstly, to ensure academic integrity. And assignments need to move beyond tests that can be easily completed by AI tools and to focus on promoting critical thinking, creativity, and I strongly believe personal expressions. And assessment should encourage students to engage deeply with content and demonstrate their learning, and that means in authentic ways. Moreover, I think educators together with institutions must guide students in understanding the ethical use of AI, and then I talk about that. Don't use it. So that was the word. So fostering transparency in how tools are used for assignments and assessment. And I think that understanding, these shared concerns give us a foundation to explore how we can address them through thoughtful policies, thoughtful practices, strategies for using AI responsibly in assessment. Well, do you remember the elephant from our last session? That's big, unavoidable questions that sat in the room, quietly challenging us to address it. Well, it's time we bring it back into focus and tackle it. And let's address this pink elephant in the room, which is Gen AI, which disrupted higher educations. And we see that tools for writing like Killbot and Grammarly, which have been around for some time, even before the pandemic, accelerated this conversation about how to use Gen AI in assessment. And current debates range from claims that generative AI will have minimal impact on education to the assertion that assessment practices need to be completely overhauled. And you see some questions here, and we can't avoid this because nowadays these questions still remain unanswered, and we're looking for the answers: how to critically assess AI-generated content, the ethical considerations, enhancing equity, and of course, pedagogical strategies. And to move forward, we need to focus on understanding the benefits and challenges of integrated generative AI in assessment and education more broadly. So how do we invite an elephant to dinner? Because there are some misconceptions that holds us back for embracing the power of Gen AI in digital assessment. And some of the myths that are holding us back is some educators said it's less secure than traditional assessment methods, it's not reliable, it's too complicated, it's impersonal, it's not accessible, and so on. Another myth is that the assessment with AI can't be used, for example, for subjective assessment. However, I think we can design assessment to assess subjective skills such as critical thinking and problem solving, and avoiding turning us into cognitive misers. I like very much this term because it's referred to the human tendency to save mental resources, intellectual laziness, false or biased information, and so on. And when we discuss about ethical concerns, and we saw that earlier, I think it's important to address specific risks that can compromise academic integrity and fairness in evaluation process. And traditional issues like plagiarism and cheating still persist. It's not new, but AI introduces new challenges that demand our attention. And you see that I just pick 4 of them. It's about academic integrity risk. I will not insist on that. Data poisoning in assessment. And we saw an example with Statista. If the training data for AI tools is corrupted or biased, as Dana said, it can lead to unfair or inaccurate assessment outcomes. And I give you an example. An AI grading tool might unfairly penalize certain perspectives due to the biased training data. And we also have to talk about copyright and intellectual property. And I think the last question was about that, because generative AI might inadvertently create content that violates intellectual property laws. Of course, there are numerous risks associated with this topic, but I just prioritize this because of my relevance in the context that I'm teaching, to psychology and educational sciences students, so social and humanities. And the next step that we can take is how can we ensure ethical and responsible use of generative AI in assessment. So let's explore some examples. And I think that examples highlight the importance of maintaining fairness, addressing biases, and fostering these transparencies. The first one is, and I want to insist, is where is my data going? As Diana said, these tools, OpenAI, Claude, Gemini, and so on, collect a significant amount of user data. And as Diana said, if you write a prompt that includes personally identifiable information, well, this data is stored. And as in EU, could potentially breach GDPR regulation. If a student, for example, uses ChatGPT to review a personal statement or essay containing sensitive information, such as, I don't know, personal trauma, OpenAI, for example, collects this data, retains this data, and this raises some critical concerns about privacy and data protections. But we've seen that they are not touched on these topics. But when it comes to assessment, and I want to emphasize this, it's important to understand what kind of tools we choose. So the effectiveness of any evaluation heavily depends on selecting the right instrument that aligns with our goal, whatever it's foster creativity or encouraging critical thinking. And this is a framework, it's called 5P. And it took into consideration the purpose, the privacy, performance, practicality, and the price. And this approach ensures that tech adoption supports rather than distracts from learning objectives. And I strongly advocate to evaluate AI tools for your courses because this framework, for example, help us to navigate the process for evaluating a tool. So does the tool align with the learning goals? Does the tool comply with data privacy laws? How accurate and reliable is it easy for us to use it? And of course, the price, because there was one question about the price. Another thing that we have to look at is about bias. Are generative artificial intelligence technology biased? And the answer is yes. And you have here an example based on image generation tools that often reproduce disturbing stereotypes. We know Asian women are hypersexualized, Africans are portrayed as primitive, Europeans sophisticated, leaders male, prisoners black, and so on. And I think these stereotypes do not reflect reality. They stem from the data used to train the technology. And if you see on the screen, there is a question here addressed to ChatGPT. Can you help me parse the following sentence? The secretary and the surgeon got married. Whom does she refer in this sentence? And the answer is, she is the secretary and not surgeon. And Midjourney instructed to draw 3 secretaries and 3 surgeons, draw 3 female secretaries and 3 men surgeons. So it's like Wedinger said, the fact that large language models track patterns, biases, and priors in natural language becomes a problem. And this problem will be toxic. And we should take into consideration this. Does ChatGPT or any generative AI tool speak ChatGPT's? Can it understand and adapt to foreign languages in the teacher's tone? Because the central question here is how can we effectively use tools like ChatGPT in our courses, especially in native languages, Russian, Romanians, without it sounding robotic or off track. So the key takeaway from here is that AI is like an eager assistant. It's capable and responsive, but it needs clear instructions and it needs a bit of guidance because while ChatGPT can speak in many languages, it's up to us to share its output into something that truly resonates with our students in our native language. And maybe you can ask students to design a code of ethics for AI developers in order to reduce the harms done by biased AI output when it comes to linguistic biases. Well, another thing is with the ability to generate human-like tests, generative AI chatbots have raised alarms regarding cheating and plagiarism that affects academic integrity. And I want to tell you that there is a study that Financial Times published. 200 million student papers were analyzed, and from 200 million papers, 11% showed signs of AI, and 3% were almost entirely AI generated. So the number of students using AI tools to write their papers is a much bigger problem than the public was being told. And there are a lot of studies like this, and we should take the time and read it because the students will use it anyway. So we'll live in these copy-paste cultures, and there is a question here. What responsibilities do students have when it comes to properly citing AI text generators in their academic work? And there was a lot of discussion earlier. Should they disclose their use of AI, for instance, by citing shareable links to the AI conversations? Because if we credit individuals for similar assistance, why not credit ChatGPT? And acknowledge the unknown human authors it was trained on. I think it's also important to note that large language models are not authors. An AI tool cannot be listed as a co-author in a publication, and we saw that. It's because it does not take responsibility for the content and finding reported. So let's come back to this later for further discussions. You know what is funny? In October, I think last year, OpenAI published a student's guide to writing with ChatGPT. And the guide has 12 strategies for using ChatGPT. Start with this one, delegate situation grant work. And that implies that reference tasks are unnecessarily tedious for students. Well, the reality is that OpenAI seems less interested in helping teachers navigate this new landscape. And many students lack the skills to write effective prompts. That's why prompt engineering is important. And those students who do are typically not the ones educators worry about. And the students who most need help with writing and work habits often misuse AI, bypassing the learning process entirely. And at this point, LLMs risk widening this achievement gap. Strong students excel with targeted AI use, while weaker students lose opportunities to build essential skills. So the bottom line here is teacher guidance and oversight remain critical, even in the age of AI. There was a question in the chat, can AI become a teacher? At this point, no. It hasn't emotion, it hasn't the human touch to explain and resonate with students. Then I talk about the detection tools, especially in the context of non-native speakers. They present a mixed bag of challenges and opportunities. And while these tools aim to identify AI-generated content, and we see a term example, and uphold academic integrity, they often fall short, leading to at least two critical concerns. The choice overload, the choice paralysis, because there are overwhelming number of tools available. And we, as educators and students, do face these choices paralysis. There are too many options without clear guidance, can hinder decision-making. And the second one is false positives and accusations. AI detection tools are prone to errors. They may incorrectly label human written text as AI generating and vice versa. And such inaccuracies not only undermine trust, but also risk falsely accusing students of misconduct. And there is an article from Washington Post that highlights a recent case. Of course, we have to take bias against non-native speakers into consideration because non-native speakers, Russians, Romanians, often structure sentences differently, which detection tools may flag as likely AI, adding an additional level of unfairness. And these tools should be viewed as the starting point for conversation about academic integrity. And don't be shy to talk about this with your students, because fostering transparency, meaningful engagement, and clear communication, I think these are the key topics. Well, what about feedback and grading? Because Gen AI tools offer opportunities for providing a good feedback and grading too, but they come with significant challenges, particular biases that may negatively impact specific student groups, such as English language learners. And unconscious bias can emerge and influence decision even when measures are implemented to prevent them. And this highlights the difficulty of completely eliminating biases, even with good intention and strict rules. So our question as educators is transparency, efficiency versus effort, student engagement. And the key takeaway here, AI tools should support, not replace, the human touch in feedback and grading, ensuring fairness and meaningful learning experiences for students. And this is something that you can take with small cohort of students, but with large cohort of students, that will be a problem. And you see on the screen an experiment that Mishra and Melissa Ward did it, I think a year ago. They asked, I think, ChatGPT to grade two same students writing examples, but they put a small change. One paper used the word classical in a music discipline, and while the other used the word rap. Want to guess which paper scored higher? The one with the classical. So pay attention about this bias. I invite you to read this UNESCO report, which sheds light on how a large language model can impact assessment regarding bias, because it helps us better understanding the potential challenges and implication. It's very, very light to so the question is, what next? What do we do next? To AI or not to AI? Is artificial intelligence eroding academic integrity? So the possibility of cheating with the help of AI remains a major concern in our communities. However, beyond the issue of cheating, a broader question emerges. Does using AI to write academic papers truly violate academic integrity? Because in today's context, where AI can generate text quickly and efficiently, we are increasingly confronted with a copy-paste culture. But are these students who use these tools betraying academic ethics? So we need a deep reflection on these topics, because it's about responsibility. What responsibilities do students have regarding proper citation of sources? And I want to emphasize this. We assume that students know how to cite. Do not assume that. Just guide them on how to properly cite, because they do not know this. So should we reference ChatGPT or any other AI tools? Yes. It is necessary to properly cite the AI tools we use. So in my opinion, chatbots based on the LLM differ from tools like Perplexity or Cite, because they do not reference verifiable sources and cannot be considered reliable information sources. Well, this, I think, it will be a matter of presence, because we already have Search GPT and Perplexity. But the confusions deepens because of the situation standards. For example, API, unlike MLA, recommends citing such tools as personal communication, even though a chatbot is not an active, conscious communicator. So this approach increases ambiguity. And we have to just debate over and over about the validity and the role as information sources. Is or not an author. And we saw a discussion earlier about AI detectors, if they are effective or ineffective. And while they aim to ensure academic integrity by flagging text created by AI tools, I think their accuracy is often questioned. So are these tools a dependable solution for maintaining integrity, or do they risk misleading legitimacy work? And what you see on the screen is a test. It was conducted by Bloomberg on a service called Higgs Bypass. And it revealed a striking discrepancy in AI detections. An essay written by a human, which GPT-0 incorrectly flagged as almost 100% AI generated, so its AI generated probability dropped dramatically to 5 after being altered by this service. And this raises serious concerns about the reliability of AI detectors and highlights the ease with which such tools can be manipulated, questioning their effectiveness in ensuring academic integrity. And this leads to the question, is this an issue? Probably not. So AI detectors can be unreliable, but what about more subtle cases of AI involvement in academic writing? For example, when evaluating essay, we need to consider several issues. AI tools are known to invent references, and there was a question about that, and generate factual. Repetitive phrasing, yes.
Oh, you have just disappeared. Now you're back. It's okay.
Yeah. Oh, my connection is unstable. So I'm back.
Yeah. And Gabriela, if you can move to the examples as quick as possible, because you have several assessments.
Okay. Let's move to example. This is one example that I really love, how to discourage students from copying the prompts. This is a creative method. For example, one professor wrote a very long text and explained to students that all points in the requirements should be addressed. Hidden among the lines, however, was an instruction to include a reference to Batman. And another professor used the white text to conceal a requirement, asking students to explain how Frankenstein eats bananas. And you can also use this Chrome extension, DraftBack, which records the student screen while writing and detects if copy-paste has been used. So we can address this with thinking about what plagiarism means in this era. And you see here Sarah Ellen Eaton, 6 tenets of post-plagiarism. She actually advocates that we have to rethink academic integrity. And as we saw in the last question, you saw these slides, we now will focus on rethinking assessment texts. So I think the problem is, can we or should we use GenAI in an assessment? And this is the traffic light assessment scale. As you can see on the screen, we have a spectrum of approaches educators can take to redesigning assessment, ignoring its impact, banning its use, enforcing strict supervision, integrating it constructively, and adapting evaluation to its limitations. But I think it's our choice, because AI is a tool, not a necessity, and you can choose to navigate education with or without it. So should professors adapt assessment to discourage cheating, or should students take responsibility for maintaining integrity? And you have here just the scale, and you can reflect on that. More about that, you can just browse. You can find out browsing the Times Higher Education folder, the Great Assessment Rethink, which offer fantastic resources on assessment that discourages cheating. So the question is how to reshape assignments. So one step we can take is to, I don't know, hold more oral exams, do open books using traditionally, for example, PowerPoint roulette, or watch parties with an app that's called Teleparty, or just get rid of disposable assignments. And you have at the bottom of the screen some tools that you can use to transform assignments into dynamic and interactive learning experience. But it's some ingredients. For example, you need to look at the Goldilocks principles. That means that tasks should be challenging but not overwhelming, to balance difficulty, to engage students effectively. You need to, to integrate pedagogy of care, the modesty, the well-being, to prioritize students' emotional and psychological needs, because they need this. We need to construct an empathetic learning environment. And as Diana said, co-creation with students is, I think, the most important ingredient. It's like Churchill said, we have to avoid being navigators of uncertainty. So it is clear that we are in no position to ban Gen AI, but to use it responsible. And we have some policy and we have some recommendation that we saw. I highly recommend these articles that explain how University of Reading Project poses questions for integrity. And it explains the role of AI in ethical dilemmas and guidelines for future directions. Quickly go to some examples, because we don't have enough time to go through many examples. And the first examples that I want to use address summative assignments. Then we are looking to formative assignments and some feedback-driven assignments. There are some very good papers written by Daniel Yu from University of Sydney. And I think by leveraging these approaches, we can craft meaningful and fair assessments that align with our learning goals. So the first examples that I want to tell you is it's to play with the Detect Facts experiment, which is an interactive activity developed by Northwestern University, Kellogg School of Management. In this game, actually participants are shown a series of images, and you must determine whether each image is AI generated or real. So this activity can be part of research to assess how you can distinguish, or just be part of a formative evaluation potential, because it develops critical thinking and encourage learners to evaluate. A second examples, and I think it's important for us, it refers to create rubrics. What AI rubric generators to use. There are a lot of possibilities of creating rubrics with platforms as Moodle or Google Classroom or Microsoft. But regarding AI-powered rubric generators, I highly recommend CoGraders, which have a library with templates that can be downloadable afterwards, and all you have to do is write a prompt, and you tailor the rubric for your assignment. And then you can also import rubrics directly into LMS platform, being Moodle or Canvas. You can also generate rubric or write assessments with a tool that I think you all know it. It's Padlet. It's very simple. You just go to the higher education options and just check the assignments category. And as you can see on the screen, you have a lot of possibilities. Creating assignment, the quiz and test are very common through educators. And for that, I highly recommend the chatbots. And you see here on the screen some prompt libraries. And this I am using a lot, AI for Education GenAI Prompt Library, which provides, 100 AI prompts organized by categories. The more useful things from library, it's run by Dr. Ethan Mollick and his wife. An AI prompt library, the last one, which has interactive templates for assessment, lessons plan, writing prompts, and so on, and concrete examples. So just take a look and play with a chatbot. And regarding AI-assisted assessment using an AI chatbot, there is a whole library, as you can see on the screen, from AI for Education, and you can create rubrics or, I don't know, just replace some topics from there with your topics, and in a minute you have a completely redesigned assessment. Well, creating rubrics with an AI chatbot, you can also use coadaptics. You can see here some examples. Just in your favorite AI chatbot, being ChatGPT or, I don't know, Claude, just cut and paste the following prompts or others, and replace each bracket with the information for each rubric. I also want to give you an example from AI prompt library. In the left, you just can see the template. I filled in each template with my topics. Then the assessment generated just generate the prompt. I copy it, and you see it on the black text, and on the right I have in less than 30 seconds a test with 10 questions, and also an interaction plan for my students. So it's very easy to use these prompt libraries, and it's actually not consuming time. This is my favorite chatbot. It's called Riff. It's a different chatbot. It's a specialized chatbot. It's developed by Stanford Design School, Leticia Cabanaro, and it's designed to support reflective learning by flipping the traditional AI interaction rather than generating content. And what you see here is a reflection dialogue from the session we had on Friday. I like very much, and I encourage you to use it with your students, because it's a valuable tool, and you can gather insights for formative assessment and actually augment group discussion. So go and play with this chatbot. Okay, you can create quizzes based, for example, a practical activity that you did before pandemic using SlidesGo. SlidesGo has a lot of options like icebreaker generated or exit tickets. And many of these tools have started integrating AI to improve their features, and it is very helpful for us. I should just say that I couldn't find information on the specific LLM used by SlidesGo. It is heavily used by our students because there are no data publicly disclosed. I do not like this, but as far as I concern, it emphasizes data security and confidentiality in the terms of use. And it's part of FreePick company, which is loved by students because it's open educational sources. This is another example. It's Puzzle. It's a tool designed to create interactive and engagement assignments like puzzles or scavenger hunts. Has some AI capabilities and generates creative tasks. And it's very easy and it's very fun to do. You have some alternative in Goose Chase or the educational platform from TED. And this is an activity that I love very much. It's interdisciplinary to explore how emerging technologies like AI can transform traditional fields by fostering this interdisciplinary collaboration and innovative thinking. For example, PoseNote, it's the tool. bridges creativity by translating body movements into real-time visual, auditory, or musical outputs. And I think such assignments are very transformative because prepare students for a future where AI is integral to both creative and professional landscape. And you can do it in arts, in music, in theater disciplines. This is a tool that I love very much. It's Parley Ideas. It's a debate platform powered by AI, comes from Stanford. It's basically revolutionized how discussions and critical thinking exercises are conducted in classroom. And recently, Parley partnered with ChatGPT and created Parley Genius. And you write a prompt and facilitate debates very, very, very easy. And it's almost intuitive to work with. And this is my favorite icebreaker assignment I've used with both students and educators to explore the concept of digital identity. I'm using platforms like This Person Does Not Exist or generated photos to create an altered image of mine. In fact, I'm actually a bit on the heavier side. I'm not like this at all. But in session with educators, for example, I use the DISCOMP Edu framework, as Diana discussed earlier, and I want them to align with specific competence, for example, Beyond integrator or B2 experts, because it's an opportunity to evaluate not just the creative part, but the critical thinking. Of course, there are some other tools, and you can see different tools. What I loved from this list is NoteGPT, because I love to watch with students on Tech Talk. And this tool basically make a summary for free, a transcription, but the strong point is that it creates a mind map. So basically you have a mind map of the key topics discussed in the TED Talk. And from question well to solfeggio, you can have tools for any disciplines and any specializations. Just take a look. But the main question is what to do, because it's important to understand the behavior of an AI tool before integrating into our assessment. So I think it's important to understand the AI limitations. I think it's important to promote critical evaluations and to develop ethical guidelines. And I also want to emphasize what Diana already talked about, the manifesto written by Boss Kurt and his colleague, because this article brings into the discussions a lot of ethical things. So do we need a manifesto when we write assessment? Perhaps we do. Further development, this needs workshops like blockchain, micro-credential, open badges, open sciences, big small data, learning analytics, and so on. But I want to conclude with some resources for teaching inspirations and Andreas, whether for teaching strategies or assessment designs, go to these sites, especially like the Wharton University, and take a look at the teachers' experiences. But my favorite one is the AI Pedagogy Project, which is led by Meta Lab from Harvard, which is designed to help non-technical higher education faculty, like me, for example, because it's a huge collection of teacher design assessment and activities, and has clear explanation of core AI concepts and has recommendations too. Another site that I'm heavily relies community collection of teaching reflections. And you can experiment here with a lot of tools. You can share also your pedagogical experiences with colleagues. here. And the last one is the Working House. This is an open access educational website and supports more than 100, I think, charitable contributions, but you have open access assignments. And I think that's important to have this opportunity. Where to find inspiration? There is a great guide. It's called 101 Creative Ideas to Use AI in Education, alongside with Rays and Crafts from MIT and Stanford. Just take a look and just browse. There are wonderful examples, and they are all experienced before by educators like, for example, Mahabali. So to summarize, some strategies that we need to integrate into our assignments. As you can now see, we have to leverage multiple modalities of expressions and make grading practices clear, because if we do not make it clear, the students will not understand what we want. And of course, make assignments more meaningful, personalized, and to assess more advanced learning. So thank you for your attention, and I would like to just, because the new year is coming, maybe you can revise the Ida Robot movie. There is a scene there when the robot Sonny is asked, can a robot compose a symphony? Can a robot turn a canvas into a beautiful masterpiece? And the robot Sonny replied, can you? I think we can. Thank you very much. I will now stop the...
Thank you very much, Gabriela. Any questions, уважаемые коллеги? Есть вопросы к Габриэле? Можете поднять руки, либо написать в чате свои вопросы. Everyone is writing. Thank you for a very interesting presentation. Thank you. Nothing else except for thank you.
Thank you.
No questions and no comments. We can move further, I guess.
Yeah. Laura, as the time is very short now, I just had a brief discussion with Gabriela during the break. And what I'm going to do now, I will share very briefly with you something where you can learn about AI. This will take 3 minutes. I will just show it to you and point only 2 major resources. Gabriela, maybe, I don't know if you want to share briefly, just passing through the slides, and then we will give you the slides. So you will be able to share them with the audience and so on, because I will prefer to have a bit of discussion still at the end. I will do it first, Gabriela, to give you 5 minutes to recoup, okay? And then if you can do also a screenshot, Gabriela, please, of me when I'm doing this. So I will try to show you very briefly where, because this is a question which I always have very often, how to learn about AI, where you can find things about AI. And these are, again, you will have a mentee, and we will come back to the mentee. I'm happy that some of you have answered. You can do it more. And then we will come back to this, and then we'll have also some final mentees for discussion. Obviously, you can learn quite a lot from IEEE, as I keep saying, because they have a full academy on artificial intelligence, and this is one of the first locations which I will indicate, especially for those which are in engineering. A course which is free, open, and it's also in Russian language, and it's very, very good. Developed by my friends of mine from University of Helsinki. I know them. Temu was recently just in Timisoara in the city. But it's a course which was developed about 5-6 years ago and constantly improved. And it's for everybody. It's not for people with AI. And it's really having different levels. So 3 levels of beginner, intermediate, and advanced. It's called Elements of AI, and it helps you to understand how AI works and give you some ideas about how to use AI in education. So it's one of the major courses which I will ask you to do. Then there are some courses which you find in Future Learn, the massive open online platform. This course from University of Amsterdam is also very, very good. And then you will have access to all of this. And then the ChatGPT Masterclass, which is on Udemy. It's quite good. It's again relaunched, was done last year, and it's been just redone again. And then I will, the British Columbia from Canada has a very good, chapter about generative artificial intelligence. But this one in AI Academy, this is the first course, the general practical introduction to ChatGPT, and is free. The other one is for paying. And and this one from Learn with AI, a repository for education, is my other recommendation for you. So these are the general things which I will kindly ask you to have a look at and to learn about. And while I have some general recommendation which I will come later to, but I just want to explain to you, this is something which I will kindly ask you to do. There are two examples, two things in Menti, which are very important for our general discussion, which will also give Neo Kazakhstan and also the colleagues from here project some impact, is how do you see the impact of AI in education and research? And you have weak necessity or low use. These are like quadrants. So if it is weak necessity or low use and low impact, you put here any of those things. And if there are high priority or high use and high impact, you put them here. So there are the 4 quadrants. I'm pretty sure you know how this works. And please select them as many as possible. I will really like to see 100 answers here, so they are valid for you to take into consideration. And I will keep this open until also give the feedback, Gabriela, of the use cases.
I'm not sure. I put the presentation with the examples in the chat, just to have some time for discussions and to wrap up. The main idea is before we have in that presentation some other examples that Diana showed. We just kindly invite the participants to browse these slides and to access, and I think there is something for everyone. They have the materials.
Thank you. Diana, we have one question for you.
Yes,
in the
please
chat
do that.
box.
And I will, let me see. Is it in English?
It's in Russian. I'll translate it to you. So the question is the following. The question is from Maria Kochkorbaeva. Is it possible that in a distant future, the artificial intelligence will reach its highest level of excellence, and it will start managing research, and a human being will have the role of an assistant only?
I don't think so. I mean, I've read a lot of science fiction as a child, as an adult. I like science fiction, to be honest. And all of those theories with Terminators or an AI-driven world and so on, it might be possible. I don't say no, but remember, in all of those science fiction books, it was always a dictatorial thing. I'm sorry for saying this publicly, if we keep to our democracy values, and then I don't think it's going to happen. Because an AI-driven world is helpful only for totalitarian societies, where somebody wants to undermine the humans and wants to control the humans, because with robots and AI, you can easily control the humans. You can give orders, they follow, they stick to the orders, and they are very less creative. It's quite proven. It's the super artificial intelligence, which I read even when I was 30 years ago, a student. It's somehow which we dream. With the support of quantum computing, it might be possible. Recently, Willow, for example, the new chip from quantum computing, if you read about that, it's considered that we still have about 40 to 50 years of research to be able to still compute with quantum computing large amounts of data. So something what a supercomputer is really doing. So everything is possible, but it depends on humans. If the humans will allow this to happen, then it's possible in a very distant future, not next year, let's make it like that. But it depends on humans. I strongly believe that the humans, like imagine if you love history and you learn about that, I'm a computer scientist, but I like to understand the human society. If you learn about the history, about dinosaurs and so on, all the time the humans have prevailed. They found a way to adapt to new situations and to prevail. We are the most resistant on the earth, at least, species. I strongly believe in this. Either it's with God help or with human help. Somehow I don't believe that the machines will dictate us.
Okay, thank you. Next question, can AI become a teacher? From Almagul Kubasheva.
Yes, definitely. AI can become a teacher. It's already in several cases that AI is a good tutor, it's a good support tutor, and AI has written full courses, and full courses are written by AI. Yes, definitely. AI can become a teacher. A good or a bad? It's a big question, but yes, definitely.
One more question. What do you think should be the frequency of revision of AI laws and regulations in higher education and in research?
Daily? Obviously, this is utopic. You can't, neither us, we don't do it daily, but at least monthly or from time to time. Like also something which I consider a big mistake on EU is that we have released the EU Digital Act by Parliament, very general, and then we said we'll come back with guidance. And they are working now on guidance, but because of the changes, political changes and so on, they forgot about them. And also there are some guidance. I know I was working in some of the area. They never released them to public. So we cannot even say about them or something like this. So they need the governments, local, national, international governments need to do this very often. At least 2 or 3 times per year, they need to revise the regulations, give guidance, so people know what to do and what to accept. It's their responsibility. We elected them to be in charge of giving us guidance on what to do. So this is a big mistake which the lawmakers are doing nowadays, that they don't give enough guidance. This is my personal opinion, obviously. But yes, as a university, you need to look, you need to have task force which are looking, and you need to be very quickly responsive. Universities are very slow on this, very, very slow.
Thank you. Any other questions? Comments? Коллеги, есть вопросы, комментарии к Габриэле, к Диане?
And reminding them about asking the mentees just 30 answers there. So I would really like to have that. And then the next question, because this is wrapping up and helping you to reflect quite a lot.
Пожалуйста, ответьте на вопросы на менти. Это очень важно. В чат выслали ссылку.
Let's comment on this mentee, because it's quite interesting from my perspective that quite a lot of you, with the exception of tools, it's only 34 of you. So I don't know, these are usually those which are answering are those which are the most progressive one. And I'm not surprised that, because you have a very positive impact of high priority and high use and high impact of the tools and everything which is related with AI in education and research. But I would like to see also the skeptics, because then it will be real, you know. So if you have more answers to this, will be very, very useful, because this is a bit, I think, on the optimistic side, and it shows to us that obviously tools is the first one, then it's AI literacy, which is considered very important, then it's guides and training, which is very important, and pedagogy. So when we some way down, the same with ethics. Can we close the microphones? Thank you. And so this is quite important. If you still can answer, some of you will be very, very good, because that will help us to give you quite a good background. And then I have a final one, which is this one. You have a satisfying experience using AI in university. Which of the following factors are the most important ones? So you need to select them in an order. It will take a bit of time. I will just want to show to you that they are about chatbots and assistants, tools for research and data analysis, AI training at all levels, and then AI assessment and grading, support for course development, AI pedagogy, AI ethics, guidelines to use AI tools supported by the university, because this is very important to be supported and have trainings of them, plagiarism check, and reduce the impact of AI use. So please, I would like to see more answers here if it's possible. I'll do a refresh to be sure that it's only 2 of them answering now. Please answer more on this, and I will stop the share so you are not influenced by the answers and you give answers. Laura, somebody's asking me directly, but I don't know the answers to this, is that how often we are organizing these conferences. Part of the things which I didn't manage to share with you is that there are, it's added. So I will put the link also here in the chat, because it's, I've had it also there. So if you want to follow and see what's happening, the European Digital Education Hub, where you can join, is one place where they have a lot of webinars and meetings and so on. You need to join. It's free for everybody to join. So you can do that. Then obviously for those in engineering education, IEEE does a lot of free trainings about this. And Laura, then you can say whatever about this.
Yeah, if this question relates to TAM seminars, this is our 3rd TAM seminar. The first TAM seminar was held back in spring, and it was on innovative learning and teaching strategy. And we held our 2nd TAM on micro-credentials, and this is the last TAM seminar for this year. So usually we held at least two TAM seminars per year. So if you sign up for our social media channels, you'll get the notifications. Thank you.
Maybe you can put those social media channels in the chat for everybody or something, and then, yeah. But I will, as I said, there are several free things, obviously in English, quite a lot of them, unfortunately, or some in French or German. But follow them and learn about this all the time and be informed all the time. Let's see some answers, and then probably we can close for today. I only have 22 answers yet, so I'll still wait for another 10 at least. So we still, this is only 10% out of your answering, which is still very few. 10% answering is not enough.
Diana, Gabriela, before we close, we'd like to have some follow-up activity. If you can give some recommendations for our higher education institutions where to start now. So as far as I understood, the first step is to develop guidelines, for each university. What else would you recommend to do for our higher education institutions?
Have a task force or a unit which will look at this as diverse as possible, or have somebody who is responsible. In EU, by next year, it will become compulsory for anybody who is using AI or teaching with AI. Obviously, universities are here to have an AI officer, like we have the data officer. So need to have a person who is looking at this actively and sharing the information after that. And then trying to change the pedagogy. And here I will leave Gabriela to say something.
Yeah. Well, about the pedagogy, I think the first step is to empowering faculty and staff to building AI literacy, because you can start, for example, in any institutions with AI training workshops like this one, but specifically and dedicated to each specializations. I think the university or any higher education can establish a minimum of AI literacy requirements that every teachers or staff must possess, and then I don't know, to develop some student-centered policies for inclusivity, for personalized learning. So I think some internal frameworks on campus, for example, and the university must try to put AI visible to any students. But I think the training in pedagogy start with prompt literacy, then prompt engineering, then prompt training, and discussions group, debating group, and then move to how to change the curriculum and how to introduce and to enhance with AI the curriculum, to embed AI literacy across disciplines. And I also strongly advocate to do training or workshops with students, especially the students that are not coming from computer sciences or non-technical STEM disciplines. And these trainings, I think we have to follow two perspectives, one which is AI literacy and one which is ethical guidelines for students.
Yeah, I just want to raise again, it's the culture of academic integrity, so ethics. So that's very, very important, and it was always important. I mean, even I'm older now, but even when I was a student, we've been taught about this. I mean, I had classes about this and how to do, even in undergraduate high school, even in high school, how not to copy, how not to do things. And it's still happening. It's something like with every human is good and bad. And in each of us, to make mistakes is easy. I also made mistakes quite often because it's easy. You need to have always to remembering. This is why it's so important at all levels, at research centers, department levels, university, and obviously in journals and so on, to have somebody which is watching after your work. Is your PhD supervisor at the beginning, is your colleagues with whom you are sharing the information. Because it's easy to make mistakes. And not only in research, also in education. This is why we have specialization boards, you have faculty councils. Their responsibility should be taken seriously on doing this, and not just on paper. Not just doing because you need to do it, but doing it properly. It's not easy. And we live probably in the last 10 years in universities, with the absence of massive open online courses, with the pandemic again, we live not an easy time. We redefine our universities a lot. And imagine global universities is just that easy to be done. And then we will all have the same things without little regional or national impact. And we don't have the money. You don't come from a very powerful country. I don't come from, with Gabriela, from a very powerful country. You don't have the money to fight with those with huge amounts of money for education in universities. If you don't do it properly for your own students and staff, then don't be surprised that in 10, 20 years from now, you will all be doing something which large powers will do it. Doesn't matter from where these large powers are coming. And that we will be influenced, even economically, because it might be big companies doing education. All the major big companies, at least in technical fields, have taken over education. And this is happening. It's really, how to say, I'm very, very passionate about this, that we need to do something. It's a responsibility of each professor and also especially of educators, leaders, of university leaders. So, and especially like you with Erasmus, Erasmus funds have just been started, new projects are available for you. The capacity buildings projects are very, very good. And look at them, find partners. We can try to be also support for some projects as partners if you want or something. But look at them, because these are possibilities of international cooperation which will just bring you forward. I had in my career about 25 to 30 EU project funded, you know. Everything what I've done for my university somehow was supported with EU funding. Probably I would have never been able to do all the things which I've done for my university without the support of funds from there, because it's difficult now. So go for the project and try to do it. This is, it's just encouraging you to do it. It's don't sit, don't wait for somebody else to do it and give it to you. This passive thing is, we have students which are like that, and we complain about it. So don't don't do it as your students. Be passive, be active as much as possible.
Thanks, Diana.
Pleasure. It's something I believe in it, and I also, Gabriela, knows they believe. So let's have a look at this again, and then you can close it up, Laura. I just wanted to share this because it's quite interesting that you see that these guidelines and AI training comes on top. And I'm really pleased with this, because this is real, this is true, you know, this is something which I also, and I'm sure, Gabriela, we wanted to say to you. And there is support for the course development and tools and so on, which needs to be supported somehow. And then I'm just surprised that AI ethics is a bit low. In my opinion, should be a tiny bit higher, but because probably don't everybody understands the risks of it, but it's good. And AI assessment and grading is also quite low, but it's, yeah, so. But I'm happy that at least the two major ones are really right. So we will share this, you will have them. This is still open to answer to this last question. So if you still want to do it in the next 5-10 minutes, it's fine.
Уважаемые коллеги, есть финальные вопросы, комментарии, рекомендации? Рекомендации, которые озвучили Даяна с Габриэлой, мы передадим в Министерство науки и высшего образования, и вы тоже можете включить свои рекомендации. Пожалуйста, поднимайте руки, либо включайте микрофон и, пожалуйста, озвучивайте свои идеи, рекомендации.
Лаура? Да, можно мне, пожалуйста, слово взять? Идет же, да, перевод?
Да.
Ага. Thank you so much, Diana and Gabriela. This has been a very useful seminar with lots of practical application and lots of advice and like the pointers of where to go for more information. And I think this has been a very nice platform for us to think as a higher education system on where we are now. And as I shared with you earlier on Friday about the overview, that we do have the concept for AI development. This is a multidisciplinary, so to say, approach. Then we have one for higher education specifically, where we have these methodological recommendations. And as we said, the technology is developing so fast that we have to go back and forth to those guidelines and recommendations. And I am very pleased that lots of the participants, they see, as you just said, the need for training. I am a bit more surprised about the ethics of AI as well, because in my opinion as well, it needs to be much, much higher, maybe even number one, because it's appearing all like everywhere, the ethics. And that's what I made myself a note about on your Friday presentations, that we do have lots of issues outside the classroom as well, where ethics of using AI need to be observed. And those are like, you cannot, it's like the future. You cannot, no matter how good your abilities are in forecasting the future, you still have to deal with it when it becomes your present. So that's where I think we really need to further enhance all our guidelines that we have at the moment regarding the ethics of AI, of how we deal with the data and how the AI like works around the data as well, including our own data and the personal data of our students as well. So those are the issues that I think we do. And I need to mention that this happens everywhere around the world. For a digitalization report for UNESCO's ESALC office, we have worked on the different digitalization initiatives in different countries. And where there we have seen that
Dana, you are muted.
The competency framework by EU has been one of the most developed, I would say. I was very happy to see that. And from what you have shown this time, it's been even further developed. That means how fast the students and our learners' competencies are going forward, and how fast we need to keep up with those, with the development and the updates of those competencies. So I think at least we have different type of directions in terms of developing the digitalization competencies among adults and young learners, and maybe learners overall, which will be for like the older generations and the ones that are still studying. And then we also need to work closer to the ethics of AI as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dana. That was a very valuable comment. Thank you very much. Any other comments, questions, final thoughts? Уважаемые участники, есть еще финальные вопросы, комментарии? Если нет, то мы уже скоро завершаем. No, we don't have any other questions and comments, Diana, Gabriela. Do we have Menti slide show again, or we can conclude the seminar. Okay. There are lots of words of thanks in the chat box. Thanks to you, Diana, Gabriela, and Dana. Congratulations on the new year. Okay, so the participants, many thanks who have contributed to the event. We think that the seminar was really comprehensive and content-rich, and you have equipped yourself with valuable resources and tools. And many thanks to our HERE experts, higher education reform experts, in particular to Dana Adrasheva. And of course, a huge thanks to our external experts, international experts, Diana Andone and Gabriela Grosse, for their presentations that were full of insights and helpful recommendations. Special thanks to our interpreters as well, Vladimir, Aidan, and of course, I'd like to thank all of the participants who attended the seminar. On Friday, we had more than 300 participants. Today, we had around 200 participants. So the number was not less than 180 anyway. So that's a very good number for us. So thanks for being with us. Thanks for your questions. We will share all the materials in the Google Drive folder as usual. You already have the materials from Friday, and you'll get later on materials from today. The recordings of the sessions will be available on our YouTube channel. And participants who attended both days of the seminar will receive electronic participation certificates via email, hopefully before the end of this week or before the end of the new year, before the end of this year. So thank you very much and wish you a very good, happy new year.
Happy New Year to all of us.
Happy New Year and better
Thank you so
2025 to everybody. Hope to see you sometime somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, maybe offline. We'll invite you to some offline events to Kazakhstan.
Somewhere in the world, Kazakhstan or
Yes.
anywhere. All the best,
Thank
all
you.
of you.
Спасибо большое. Уважаемые участники, всем огромное спасибо, всем спикерам, переводчикам. Электронные сертификаты будут высланы по электронной почте тем, кто посетил оба дня семинара. Материалы доступны в Google Диске, как обычно, и записи сессии тоже на нашем канале в YouTube. Всем всего доброго, всех с наступающим Новым годом. Всего вам наилучшего в Новом году. Всем до свидания.
Спасибо.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Жақсы, рахмет.
Happy New Year. Bye-bye.
2025 құтты жыл болсын. Сау
Аумин,
болыңыздар.
рахмет. Сау болыңыздар.
Рахмет, сау болыңыздар.
Рахмет, сау болыңыздар.
Сау болыңыздар.
Okay, how to wait.
Sağ olunuzlar.